representative or whatever. So I ended up with like every single one of their fucking slips because I couldn't say no.
I made that same fucking mistake.
God,
I couldn't hurt their feelings.
I made that same goddamn mistake. It was when they were voting to legalize marijuana in certain parts of Florida. So someone had a packet on the marijuana bills, and I was like, oh, I should know specifically, just in case I make a mistake. So I took that one, and then like 10 other people walked up, and they were like, here, you're taking literature, take this. And it fucking sucked. They wouldn't leave me alone.
I just feel bad. I feel bad. I can't say no.
Well, that's how I feel with like...
You're good.
Okay. See, we're all too nice. We don't want to interrupt.
Everyone's shy now.
It's just there's the 10-second silent clip.
Yeah, it's just the scummiest tactic when they talk to you directly, because it's so much harder to like decline someone to their face. It's the same thing with mall free samples. I always end up taking all the fucking toothpicks of free samples at the mall just because I feel bad ignoring them and saying no, even though I don't want it.
Gotta be strong.
It
you
works.
Have to say no. Practice in front of the mirror.
Appeal to your human emotions and stuff. It's fucked.
There's entire businesses built around the fact that you won't say no. It's a big part of salesmanship.
This should be made into a law that they can't guilt trip us by being human beings. They should.
That's not fair.
They should get like statues to do it. I don't know. I don't think they should be allowed to put people out the front of polling people. It's a form of intimidation, and I won't have it. I felt guilted.
I don't know if I've experienced... I mean, maybe I have. I'm trying to think if I've experienced that. Is that a thing here? I'm being naive, but is that a thing here in the States?
For petitions, it is.
What?
Yeah, for polling people outside of polling, giving literature.
Oh, for polling specifically. Well, like, are you saying... Oh. I guess I just haven't experienced, like, going in to vote and there's some dude holding up a sign that's like... Although
that's what always boggles my mind. Like, every poll I see, ever... It's like, oh, so and so many Americans believe this and this. My first thought is always like, who did they ask? Like, who the fuck actually?
Oh, you're talking about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I got you. I thought you were talking about like,
do they call you? Do you walk into them at the mall? Who's actually doing the polling and where and when and how?
Kid, I did mean voting, like actually going to the polls and voting for elections and such.
Okay. And were the people were they polling to see who you voted for, or were they trying to persuade you to vote for their candidate?
So maybe polling isn't the correct word. That's just how I've heard that place described. Like a polling center is what they call it over here to go to elections or whatever. But like going into the center, they always fucking like gather around the doors like a horde of hungry dogs. And just fucking, you can't get through them until you like at least interact with them to some degree. They're like bouncers basically, which is really annoying. So yeah, there's a representative, or not a representative, sorry, a volunteer for every like political party in Australia at the front of every single polling center every single time, no matter which one I go to. They always have volunteers there, and they're always full of fucking slips to hand you on how to vote, because we have preferential voting over here. So they try to instruct you on where to place other parties as well in your preferences. So it's like a full on, it's like they like hand you a, what do they call it, infographic kind of thing,
right,
instructing you how to vote.
Little pamphlet.
And it's just the most it's the most condescending bullshit ever. I hate it. It should be. I don't understand why it's legal. It shouldn't be legal.
Yeah.
And is that not a thing in America? Like, if you go to vote for like the president or something, they don't have people at the front of those places?
They do.
I think they do. I mean, that's what an exit poll is, right? They literally ask you, hey, who did you just vote for? So they can like predict it on the news and shit.
Exiting is different. I'm fine with that because you've already made your decision and you've already voted.
You
They're
mean
not trying to convince you at that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's all... Yeah. It's all pretty intense. There has to be some kind of like psychological element to it too. I was talking to my partner about it. Like, there has to be some degree of voters that choose based on how many volunteers are there for certain parties. Like, things just look better if there's a more organized, appeal to our senses. They should like have cookouts and stuff. Like have a bounce house for the kids. And, like free hot dogs.
I'll vote for the first person who can make me laugh right now.
Free burgers if you vote for this guy. Just
do you think there's like Redditors who just go to the polling station and just like convince me? Why should I vote for you?
Oh, there absolutely is. When I was going into the center, I saw like multiple people having debates outside, like actually talking and interacting with these people.
Like for fun?
Yeah, I'm like, what a fucking sad waste of time. You come into the polling center, you probably already know who you're voting for, or if you don't, you're just gonna, do a donkey vote or whatever it's called, where you just vote random numbers anyway.
What if, now hear me out, what if, going full circle, what if they're trying to waste their time so they don't have to bother you? What if they're like the scam baiters of
holy
polling
shit.
sites?
They're scam baiting your information. That's amazing.
What if they're saving me? That's so nice, dude.
Yeah, they're running resistance so you don't have to.
They're true heroes.
All I could think when I walked by was, what a pathetic loser. That shows how nice I am.
You gotta believe.
Oh my lord. So going back to funny, goofy comedy, Kit Boga, where did you get your improv skills from?
Oh, there was this guy I met at a polling center.
He had the best material.
Yeah, he trained him everything he knows.
He came back every election to learn new lessons.
Yeah, he took me under his wing.
Kit's first gig was yelling at who to vote for, just on the street.
Honestly, I think a lot of it was Twitch chat, to be honest. Like, if I watch old stuff from 5 years ago, I don't really think it was that funny. It was just like I was calling scammers and wasting their time. But I think over the past handful of years, I've just, I don't know, practiced, and like Twitch would drop memes in chat and I would say them, and then I kind of honed in on, I don't know, my style of humor.
I never did improv before that.
What was that?
You never did improv before that, or had any kind of
not really
inclinations towards the comedic arts?
I watched a lot of Whose Line Is It Anyway, if you're familiar with that.
Oh, yeah. Incredible show.
And I would occasionally, in like high school and stuff, we would play games like that, but I wasn't a part of, like, I didn't go to a school or anything like that.
I just ask because on your show, there's really straightforward improv bits like wasting their time and frustrating them. But then you have some really elaborate ones like Crow Pro, this like alternate universe business. And like there's some pathways you go down that just to the uninitiated viewer seem to make no sense,
It's true. I've been having some trouble editing videos like that for YouTube as well, because I don't want to get too far in the weeds on it, but it seems like a lot of content these days, it's a 10-minute video about a very specific thing. And then how do I, like, this is a multi-day 36-hour story about how I created a random business and a scammer's pretending to be the president. And like, there's just all these random like plot lines that don't make any sense. You're like, how could you possibly, edit this so someone can understand? But I think, I think those things just happen randomly. And I like to think of it. So my grandpa had Alzheimer's, and he would just rant and tell. He was very happy, but he would rant and ramble and tell stories that made no sense. And so a lot of time, like, that's where I draw the inspiration from. Is I just start talking about crows in my backyard or whatever. And if the scammers go along with it, then it becomes canon, it's part of the world now. It's part of the universe. But
so do you go into these with a technique in mind, or like content in mind? Like, you want to bring up a certain joke or gag or something like that, or does it just happen organically?
Sometimes I do. It's actually frustrating to me because I do have a list of ideas that I want to do, but because the scammers aren't in on it, right? Like, I can't.
Yeah, you gotta wait for someone to lead you in without knowing.
Right.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's frustrating because I have things that I think are funny, or like for the long, I've played old school RuneScape for a really long time, and forever I thought, oh, what if I could get a scammer to complete Tutorial Island? Like it would just be if you ever played. I just think it's a funny like goal to have, but it's so hard to try to figure out how to get a scammer to do that because they just don't.
Oh man, that would be perfect. You should get them to play RuneScape and then scam them in RuneScape. Yeah. The ultimate scam. Yes.
It's multi-layers deep. Yeah, like I'll trim your armor for you or whatever.
Yeah, you get him invested in the game. He spends like 50 hours getting gold and stuff. He's really loving it. And then you come around, the man that introduced RuneScape to him, and you say you'll trim his armor or dupe his armor or whatever, and then he's scammed. Oh,
I won't quit until that's done. That's beautiful.
Yes, please make that happen. That is beautiful.
Recently, I did get a guy I had a dream of having a scammer edit a video for me, and I accomplished that recently. It wasn't one of my videos though. That was the ultimate goal, was to get them to trick them into editing a Kitboga video, and then halfway through they're like, wait, what's going on?
Even better if they're editing their video on them. That would be fantastic. You just send them the files of the call after.
That's funny. Yeah.
That'd be perfect.
But most of it is it sort of just happens in the moment, and I think that's part of why I've been able to continue doing it for so long, because I tend to get pretty, I don't know about you guys, but like I get really into a particular hobby and then I just discard it and move on to the next one. That's like that's how I am in real life. But I think because every week there's a new scammer who I haven't met, and who knows what they're going to say or do, even though their scripts are usually pretty similar.
They're still people on the other end, so they have somewhat dynamic responses.
It's like a roguelike. I don't know. Yeah.
It's cool. I want to know how you haven't got like a Indian wanted poster out there, basically. Like they've put your face or voice or your sticks up in like every call center possible at this point.
So that's something. I think that's something that does exist. I bet he does. I don't know if you guys watched the new Mark Rober, Jim Browning video, but they had in the video, they had a group chat that was like 50,000 people, all scammers. And
holy fuck.
They knew the second that Mark Rober and Jim Browning sent people to India to infiltrate. They knew immediately, and they followed them around the city, like from the airport, and reported them to each other through that group chat. So I have no doubt that Kit has that same level of infamy at these call centers.
There's definitely I describe it like I don't know, the boogeyman effect, where sometimes when they sense that something isn't normal, or I'm really giving them a hard time or whatever, they'll say things like, is this Jim Browning? Or is this Kitboga? Or is this... And it's funny because if you've watched Jim's videos, I don't sound anything like Jim.
I don't think any human sounds anything like Jim Browning.
Yeah.
He's a god.
Boogeyman.
Yeah, his voice is just so distinct.
The boogeyman.
Yeah.
Baba Yaga.
So I think there's like these myths. There's myths and rumors of these scam baiters, but they don't always really know. Like, they don't really